What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Made You a Mixtape podcast, episode number 4. I'm your host, Jason, and with me today, we're talking sports, we're talking 49ers eventually, and we're talking a whole lot of fun. With me today is Crystal Scuor. Crystal, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. I'm back in Vancouver, as I told you before, and it was a rainy day, but it was nice. I'm chill. I'm good. As best as we can be right now.
Excellent. Crystal, where can people find what you're writing and where you're writing?
So basically, I'm working for Sports Illustrated, all 49ers. All of my columns that I write for them are going to be up on si.com/all49ers. All of my stuff I put up on my Twitter as well. So if you ever want to look at my stories that are going up, and I'll tweet them and retweet stuff that the account for all 49ers has put up. So basically, on my Twitter, which is at 49ers Chrissy, you can go find everything on there. All my live shows that I've been doing, I do on Periscope, but Periscope actually is coming to an end pretty quick, which kind of sucks. But everything will be on Twitter. So if you want to look me up on Twitter, I'm at 49ers Chrissy. And again, all my Sports Illustrated stuff goes up on the site as well.
Now, I can't really say much because if you're watching the podcast on YouTube, you'll notice that there's there's a terrible towel, a Pittsburgh Steelers terrible towel behind me, and I'm in Toronto. How did you, a Vancouver girl, get into the 49ers?
Well, basically, so I grew up on the West Coast. The closest team to us is the Seattle Seahawks, and they were just a team that when I was growing up, it wasn't something that people really followed football. Here in Canada, we're not like gung-ho about football other than the CFL. So like BC Lions were everything here growing up, and just NFL football was basically whatever team kind of caught your eye, you'd go after in Vancouver at least, until the Seahawks won a championship. And then when they won a championship, everyone in Vancouver was a fan. But that's a different story. But anyways, as a 49ers fan, basically a guy that I was dating before, we don't want to give him too much credit, but he was a huge 49ers fan, and he showed me the sport. He showed me a YouTube clip of Patrick Willis, and I'll never forget watching this YouTube clip and just thinking, oh my God, this is the most incredible athlete of all time. And I was in a rabbit hole. I'm sure you found the same when you're on YouTube. You start Googling or looking up different things, and I started looking up different names on the team and just watching all the players that played with the team at the time. And Vernon Davis was with the team. Frank Gore was with the team. Eventually, Colin Kaepernick was with the team. And it was just this incredible group of guys that got out on the field, ended up going to the Super Bowl in the 2012-2013 season. It was just incredible. And so I fell in love with them. My ex at the time was a huge fan, but again, like just seeing how they came together as a team, and the color red has always spoken to me. I've loved red my whole life. It's just one of my colors. And I have some cousins that live in San Francisco too, so it just made sense. I love that bridge. It's my favorite bridge ever. So Niners all the way, baby.
Now, of course, you're a fan, but you're also writing about the team. How, when you get to actually writing the articles, how do you, in that journalistic sense, separate the fan from the article?
This is something I've actually been questioned about before. And at that time when I was originally questioned, I had no idea how to answer. But when I first started writing for them, I didn't know how to take myself out of it as a fan. I just didn't. And so I left myself in there because my style of writing is very different than what you would probably see on like a TSN or Sportsnet or whatever. I'm not just writing about a game from the box score. I'm writing about the game, about how I felt while I was watching it. So my whole thing was I was going to follow the team for the season and write about the games each week or something that happened that week and try and parallel it with something that I've been through in my own life. And so that's just something that, rather than being the fan, I tried to take myself out of it and separate myself as a fan and just put myself there as a human, if that makes sense. So I'd watch the game and then reflect on something that happened within that game. For example, when all that stuff was going on with Jimmy Garoppolo in the beginning and people were questioning whether he's the guy, and it's still a relevant topic that's going on right now, I just looked at it the way that, it took me a while to get to where I am today as well. And it's kind of been a struggle. I've gone through the ups and downs and overcoming adversity the same way that I think the team did this past season. And so I just paralleled it with that. And rather than sit here and fangirl and talk about how frustrated I was to watch, the team suffering like this and no wins and this and that, whatever. And are we blaming Garoppolo or Mike McGlinchey or whoever? No, I just took myself out of it. And I was like, no, this is regular everyday life. People go through some stuff that happens to them that they had no idea were coming. They get blindsided by it. And that's what I kind of think happened to the 49ers this season. And I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to talk about them. But it taught me in a way to talk about them without being that fan, without supporting them all the way and looking at them, more as an analyst and thinking, okay, they didn't do that well with this. Nick Mullins isn't the greatest backup. But you have to look at it way more critically. And I think that's something I learned. And it was kind of hard to do in the beginning. I'm not going to lie. But once you start get going and like you start kind of shooting your ideas off of other people that are also writing about the team, you find your voice a little bit. And I think I found my voice this season. As much as it was such a crazy season for the Niners, I just kind of paralleled it with everything I've gone through and also what we're going through right now. Like it kind of matched up with, the way of the world and the pandemic and just everything kind of coming to a halt for reasons that we didn't plan, right? So I don't know, that kind of taught me just to look at it just with what's going on. Don't put yourself in there as like a fan, just literally comment on what's going on. And so I got into like the groove of doing that and it was really fun. It was different and I'm super proud of how the season went just from a journalistic point of view. Not as a fan, I was not happy, but it taught me a lot as just a writer and to keep going even when the stories are not what you typically want to write about, right? So yeah, it was fun.
So the page for Sports Illustrated that you're writing for, the All 49ers page, it's literally like, the home for 49ers fans. And you're pretty active on Twitter. You're talking to the community. How has the 49ers online fan base taken to your articles and taken to your writing about the team?
Oh my gosh. I could sit here and say some of the things like there's two aspects. If you look at it, like it's like the little devil and angel on your shoulder, right? On Twitter, it's kind of the same thing. When you put yourself out there, you're going to get people that are going to give you this praise, like a little angel on your shoulder, like, yeah, you're amazing. This is great. But then on the flip side, when you start to write some things that are maybe a little controversial or maybe go against what other people say, you get those little devils that are kind of going at you. And so I've kind of dealt with both of those types of people. But for the majority of the fans and the faithful, we call ourselves, everybody's been so supportive. I've written about the team in such a different way than I think a lot of people are used to. And so the traditional like cookie cutter way of writing, those people that breathe and love the box score and the stats and all that, sometimes they don't really jive with my style of writing. And I get it. And it's not something I'm ever going to sit here and be like, why don't you like me? I get it. Like we're all different, but the people that have supported me, and I call them my day ones, because when I first started tweeting about the games, like I can vividly remember last year when I was still in Toronto, watching the 49ers games. And for once in my life, because I was in school and everything, I had the time to watch every single game, like on a Thursday, Monday, Sunday, whatever. I had the schedule to do it because usually when I was a football fan before in Vancouver, I'm working so many hours, I'm doing this, that, whatever. I don't have the time to just sit there and watch the game. And in Toronto, I had the time to do that. And people, the day ones, like when I started tweeting about the games and just saying what I was seeing on the TV, they connected with me for some reason. Like they saw, I tweet some cheeky stuff and I'm a little more out there than I talk about the D, meaning the defense. And like people take it in a funny way. Like I say the innuendos. I know what I'm doing, but like it's also fun. And I think it's different than what everyone else is doing. And you're still getting the end product of what the score was and this and that, whatever. But you're getting it in a very raw, real, this is how I'm reacting to it way. And so a lot of people really respected that. And like, that's something I think that I've grown my following on Twitter and social media in general, just because I've been real. I haven't been trying to report on the games in the same way that everyone else is doing it. I've been very honest, and I've used some of the stuff I've gone through in my life to reflect on the games and whatnot too. And I think people really appreciate that. And so when I've put some articles out there, there's one in particular I can think of. It's called My Black Hat. And it was basically a story about an abusive ex-boyfriend that I had and how I became a fan of the 49ers through him, but like just being able to rely on the team and use them as a crutch when I was going through some bad stuff in my life, and how Patrick Willis's story, he went through an abusive relationship with his dad, just watching how he overcame that and used it as fuel and was still able to accomplish going to the NFL and doing all that. I just thought, you know what, if he can do it, I can get through this as well. And so I thought this is a story that needs to be shared, because there are a lot of people in really crappy situations that they don't want to be in. And maybe if they read somebody else's story of how they got out of it and that like life is still going to keep going after it, that you're going to be okay. I just thought maybe this will help somebody. And when I posted that article, I had to take a little breather from Twitter, because there were so many DMs of people supporting me and saying, this helped me. And like, it was overwhelming. It was amazing, but it was overwhelming because it was just like, I couldn't believe how many people resonated with what I wrote about and like how many people it touched their lives. So I don't know. It's been such a, I can't even describe to you how surreal it's been to be able to just talk about some of the stuff I've gone through and relate it to the team and to have these people that somehow like accept it. I never thought that people would just accept me for who I am, like every little bit of me. And I think they have. And it's such an incredible feeling.
When you mention Patrick Willis talking about going through all of that, it reminds me a little bit about when DeMar DeRozan was talking about his struggles and, you know, how much of a floodgate of honesty and almost catharsis that, you know, this star player, like this absolute star player, admitting just how human he was, and it almost like gave permission for others to sit there and say, oh, thank God I'm not the only one. When you were writing these articles, you know, these very open, pure, honest, you know, articles, did you find it was more cathartic for you or more cathartic for the reader?
You know, I thought at the time while I was writing it, like, it's funny that you say that because, well, when you're in the zone and you kind of close out from the world and you don't think about the words that you're putting to page because maybe there's something that was really painful before and you had to wait for that right moment to talk about it. I think that's something that ended up happening. And I found a way to do that through sport, which is crazy. Because not a lot of people do that, let alone they're not able to talk about things, but because I related it to the sport, I think it took a little bit of the pressure off of just me putting myself out there. So while I was writing it, I mean, I'd have moments where I'm just sitting there writing and I'd read over a paragraph I wrote and I would cry. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I felt like this at some point. Obviously I did if I'm putting it to paper right now, but it's crazy because I thought while I was writing it, you know, I felt a certain way and it was kind of healing in a way. I definitely felt like I had pushed so much of this down. And when I started writing about it and just truly putting it out there for other people to read, it's like at that point I accepted that this is who I am. It got me to where I am today. And that I think that the more cathartic part about it is knowing that people out there that are potentially going through the same thing, or, you know, they've had their own struggles in their life too, knowing that they are reading it and it could maybe spark something in them to be like, I got this, I'm going to be okay. That's way more cathartic than anything of me sitting there and writing it. So just knowing how it's being perceived and like received by other people, I think that's been just amazing. Like it's helped me just get over so much of the self-doubt that I was holding on to, knowing that other people are reading so much about like a personal thing that I've gone through, and yet they're still like accepting me with open arms. And I love that. I think it's been like win-win for everybody, if that makes sense.
Now, first of all, you are extraordinarily brave for being so open and honest about everything that you have gone through. And I think anyone who, you know, sees your tweets, reads your articles and follows you, you know, would agree with me that you are incredibly brave, strong, and courageous. When you were going through these tough times in your life, and many people do, they tend to lean on songs that either help them get through or, you know, like just for some reason or other, they're incredibly healing at the time. Did you find yourself leaning towards music as you were going through, you know, these like incredibly tough times?
I think, you know what, music has been something that throughout my entire life, I never realized how much it meant to me until I look back or I hear a song and it like brings me back to a specific time. And so a lot of the time when I've gone through anything really heavy and deep and whatever, there have been songs that I cling to for those certain situations. So, I mean, when I was with my ex-boyfriend, for example, like there were times like I would just shell up and I didn't want to see anybody for, you know, weeks, months, whatever, because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to do anything. And I would literally just lean on these songs, these specific songs. And there's a couple songs I can think of that just like spoke to me and I'd have them on repeat. And like, I don't know what it is. They normally were sad songs. And so when I'm in a mood, I'll put on a song that just is very lyrical and, you know, there's poetry behind those words and I can just feel it. And so one of those songs for me has always been Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. John Mayer is just like, he's this incredible, I've seen him a couple times live and he's always been somebody that he just picks up a guitar and he can just go. And I feel like no matter what's going on in that guy's life, he's just fine. And so when I listen to his music, especially that song, it's like everything around you is burning, but you still know that you're there. You know, I'm like, that's the song that's just gotten me through some really difficult times. And then I think of people that connect with that music as well. So for example, my dad has been somebody that my entire life, like I think about the music that he's played for me and how much I've learned from, you know, the music that he loves and that he's grown up with. And, you know, he's Italian. So there are some songs and artists in there that are Italian artists that I can picture him working on his car, or him, you know, like waxing, like he had an Alfa Romeo, this beautiful car that he got in the same year that I was born. And I can just picture him outside in our old house on Dewar Way, and he's waxing this car, and it's this beautiful black car, and he had the Eagles playing, Hotel California comes on, and like I just vividly can see that. And so there's certain songs that if I'm going through something, I just put that on. Like a Hotel California is one of those. Supertramp, oh my God, Supertramp just brings me back to my dad in a heartbeat, because he had like Goodbye Stranger was always on, right? And like, I don't know, I just think of certain songs that bring me so much joy because they bring me to a point that I was with somebody that I love, right? And so when I was going through the tough stuff, yeah, okay, I could listen to the songs that reminded me about the guy, and I could sit there and cry and whatever, but I would put the songs on that reminded me of the people that were still there and that I knew were always going to have my back, and that always made me feel some type of really great way. And my dad, anything he's ever shown me, like even Eminem, I'll never forget when he discovered Eminem, you know, he had Eminem on all the time. And like, I would even say most of the time my dad was super conscious about when because he was the type, he still is, he put music on in his garage, right? And whenever he was working on anything, I can just picture him, the certain mood that he was in, just because of the music that he would have on. So he'd have his Italian days. Like I have a couple tattoos I want to tell you about after that, like have their musical lyrics and like they mean something to me. But there's one song that he would have on, he'd have this certain artist, Eros Ramazzotti, on, and like I can just picture when he was in that mood of like building things and like getting stuff done, you know? And then there's other times that he would play the Eminem stuff where he was feeling like, I can take on the world, you know, nobody's gonna mess with me. And so I just picture my dad whenever I think of songs, and especially songs that like I need to get me through certain things. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers, I have this behind me. It's me and him. Like he showed me this band. It's one of those bands that no matter what, I just listen to, and it just brings me back to a moment with him. And so my dad's been my musical person, you know, like if I could think of anybody that gave me something, the most meaningful thing in this world, it was him with the music. Like he just, right from a young age, music was everything. So yeah, I mean, I lean on it. There's certain songs that like the Beatles have always done it for me too. You know, certain songs that I listen to from the Beatles that just make me feel like I live in that era of being, you know, a hippie and everybody loves each other and there's more peace in the world and you're taking back to kind of a simpler time, you know? I don't know. And then I think of like the punk bands that I used to listen to, and like there's something about that nostalgia that you just feel like this is one of the first concerts I've ever been to. The Killers, they were the first one I ever bought tickets to go see on my own. And I listen to these songs and it just takes me back to a much simpler time. So yeah, I mean, all that being said, like I think that whatever we go through in our life, we always kind of, for people who love music, we pin it to a song, and we sometimes think like this is something that down the road is going to save me in a moment if I think back on it, right? And especially now, like I'm sure you do the same, where we think about concerts that we've been to and whatnot, and you just feel this version of yourself that you don't think you could ever be unless you're at a concert. I don't know what it is about being at a concert, but it's just like this amazing feeling. And so I try to hold on to all that. I've been to a bunch of concerts, like even your concert, it was just incredible. So I don't know, music is everything. I think it gets you through the tough times, it gets you through the good times, but then at the end of the day, it's just like, it's this little bookmark on your life. And I love that.
And I think that one of the things about concerts, and I think what's really hit, like if you're a concert goer, you are suffering through this pandemic right now because there's just no shows. And part of that is because when you go to see a band, you're there with 10,000, 20,000, or, you know, however many people are at that show of your people. You know, doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter, you know, what walks of life or how good or bad your life was. You're there in that moment because you all have a similar appreciation. And that's probably why, you know, this has got to be so hard for the musicians as it is for the band. You mentioned that the Killers was the first concert you paid for, you know, your own ticket, your own money to get that ticket, which is always like, you know, parents take you to a concert early on kind of thing. I know my mother took me to my first concert, you know, yeah. And the difference is huge. Like my mother took me to my first concert. It was Krista Berg. The first one I got tickets for myself was Kiss. So there's a big difference there. But it's also the same thing with albums. You know, obviously you get, you know, cassettes or albums or CDs or whatever for your birthday or Christmas, but to go out and spend your own hard-earned money, you know, on that first album. Do you remember the first time you went to a record store, your own money, whether it be allowance, part-time job, whatever, and said, I am buying this album?
So, okay, yes, I do remember. And this is like crazy because I don't even think I had my own job at this time. It was just we had our allowances from walking to and from school. My parents would actually give us an allowance for making sure we got to and from school safely. Not that our neighborhood was bad or anything, but
you survived. Here's $5.
I know. So we literally would get $5 a week, and I thought it was great. So me and my brother would put our money away, and like he would always want to spend his money on Ninja Turtle stuff or video games. Like we had Sega Genesis and Nintendo, I think, was coming out at the time. I can't remember, but for me, it was always music was something. And so at that time, I was thinking about this. I'm like, we didn't have CD players the way that we had them, you know, recently or whatever. Like I know CDs aren't really a thing anymore too, which is so weird to think of. But I didn't have my own boombox with a CD player. I didn't have my Sony Walkman at the time. So when I first really started getting into music, I had a cassette radio player that whenever a song would come on, I would run and get my little tape, my little blank tape, and I'd put it in and I'd hit the record button and I'd start recording a song that I absolutely loved. And so for the longest time, that was my first CD that I would put together. But the first one I can physically think of that I spent, like saved up all my money and actually bought, and I don't know if you remember this band, they're from Denmark, was Aqua.
Oh God,
Aqua?
Barbie Girl.
Barbie Girl. So Barbie Girl was not my favorite song, but like they had really great other songs. And like the thing that did it for me, because I'm such a visual person, their CD cover just got me. It was like the Cartoon Heroes one. It came out in like 2002, and it was just this beautiful eyeball, flashy looking blue color, and they were wearing these funky outfits, and the girl had this pixie hair, and like it was all colorful and weird. And like at that time, I was like this super hyper young girl, just like living her best life. And the electronic music really spoke to me. So like the Euro electronic music. So I remember seeing it and I thought, I want to buy this. And my mom had gotten me a Sony Walkman for my birthday. It was this beautiful, like cobalt blue Sony Walkman with like the over the head headphones.
Yep.
So I needed to fill it with something. And I remember saving up my allowance money and I bought that for myself. And I think I was in middle school still. And yeah, I remember listening to it for the first time and it was crazy. But then what did it for me, and this is what, I don't know, like for me, like music is everything. But music, when you get to see the visual with the music video, like they did a really great job of portraying their songs through the visuals and through their music video as well. And so like they had the song Candyman, they were like in a spaceship and going up. It was just crazy. Like everything was very visually stimulating with their music. And so I can picture their music videos just from the song that I hear. And that was something I loved about them because not only were they giving this, you know, prize to my ear, I could literally see a video play out in my head every time I thought of them. And so I loved them. They were my favorite band in the beginning, like very unique songs, very upbeat. I could just dance around in my room. Like you felt like you had no worries at all. And like, yeah, they were the first one. The second one I remember buying, and this is such a flip because I was thinking, okay, what were the albums I had? And I still have my little, you remember those little flip books where you could keep your CDs in?
Yep.
Well, I still have one of those. It's at my parents' place. I should have got my dad to bring it today.
I'm not going to lie. I have a few of those downstairs in my basement, but yes.
And they're filled with these amazing artifacts of what your life was. Like, it's really cool because you have to think, like, at that moment, I loved all these different genres of music, and it really said something about the different stages of how I was going through life. So, for example, like, when I liked Aqua, I really liked upbeat stuff. I was into, like, the poppy, you know, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, that kind of stuff. Very poppy. But then the second album I remember buying, which is also really random, was Ricky Martin. His self album, Ricky Martin, I think it was 1999. I didn't buy it when it first came out, but I bought it like a couple years later because I was obsessed with Livin' La Vida Loca.
Right.
Anyways, I went through some really weird stages with music. And so when I was younger, it was all these like Euro, electro beats. Like I really like that. And I kind of get it because my dad was super into that kind of style of Italian music. And so it reminded me of those kind of songs that he would listen to. But then when you get to high school, I'll never forget, like everything switched. I was all into like the punk rock, like alternative, folky kind of music. Like the Killers were the first band I ever went to see in concert. But the first CD I ever bought in high school was Simple Plan. I don't know if you remember that band.
I do remember Simple Plan.
In concert. Oh my God. Like there was some crazy stuff that happened. Like they were just a band, and I'll never forget the album cover, and it was like no shoes, no shirt, all balls or something. I can't remember the name of the album, but it was one of my favorite albums. Every single song on there, it was like talking to my teenage angst. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when you're just feeling this rebellious side of yourself that you want nothing to do with your parents. They like came in right at that time, and I dove right into it, and I wore all black, and like every now and then like some pinky punky looking stuff, and like I don't know, it just really them and like Good Charlotte and Sum 41. Those were the bands that I was really into in high school, and so everything I ever saved up was either for an album for them, like a CD for them, or to go watch their concert. So I went to every single band I ever wanted to see when I was in high school. Everything I ever saved up. So I started working at Safeway when I was in grade 11. Anytime I saved up any kind of money, it was to go see a concert. Nothing else. I didn't do anything else in high school other than concerts.
Now, you of course have mentioned that, you know, you went to broadcasting college. So not only do you know how to write, you know how to film, and you know how to edit as well. Multi-talented. But you talked about you know, like how much the visuals mean as far as the music videos go. Do you ever just sit there, put the headphones on, listen to a song, and you start to visualize the music video you wish that someone made for it?
So it's funny that you say that, and like even tying in writing and everything. So when I was little, I used to keep a lot of journals. Like I could go back and look in a box that I have at my parents' place of just journals of stuff that I wrote, whether it be, you know, I was cheering for the Raiders at one point in the NFC game, or like, I don't know, there was all these things that AFC, all these things that came up that like when I was younger, I didn't even realize I was writing about. And I used to keep a journal of when I would listen to songs, how I would do the music video. Like literally I'd plan out the music video like a storyboard, but written. So I'd write out exactly, like, for example, like I love Simple Plan, and they had the song Perfect. And that was one that really spoke to me because at the time, like, I think I was just, you know, grade 12 or grade 11. And like my brother and me were very close, and like he was leaving high school that next year or something. And I was just really sad. I felt like I was going to be alone. And my parents and I had, you know, I was always different than the rest of the family. I still always think I'm the black sheep, but like people have told me recently, like, I'm not the black sheep, I'm the rainbow. Like I'm just a little bit more colorful, which I love. I'd rather be the rainbow. But yeah, I'm like, I just think of that song Perfect. And I remember writing the lyrics down, and beside it, I wrote the parts of what would happen in the music video. So this is something I used to do all the time. I'm very visual, but the music, the lyrics and everything, I just like, I can see when somebody writes something out, I can see what it would translate to as a visual. Like that's just something I've always done as a child. And like, I've been very imaginative that way. So yeah, like I used to do that. I have books of it. So it's pretty cool. And it's something I want to go back and look at because I don't know, I think I could have done a better job. You ever look at a music video? Like I remember MTV and Much Music when you got to like text in and request a song and everything. I used to do that all the time. There would be some music videos that were such a bummer. You'd watch them and you're like, okay, that was a letdown. You know, that's not what I was expecting at all.
Right.
But then other ones, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, you know? Like Dave Matthews Band, I always remember his music videos being crazy. Like absolutely crazy. I loved it. Or no, Matthew Good, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Picture it. There was like one where he was in like an insane asylum, and he had all those masks of like pigs, and you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think I remember that one. The one
Matt Good was great.
The one for Matthew Good that always kind of, you know, stuck out to me was the one for Apparitions. Like it was, it was so like you felt gutted after the video, and it's just like, oh dear God, right?
I know.
Like
but that's what I'm saying. Like it just brought the level of what that song was and the music and the lyrics like to such a different level, right? So I don't know. I love the music video aspect for it too. Like again, I can sit there and listen to a song and kind of envision how I would want to do it, but like when you get to see what an artist does, not only with their words and their music and everything, but also with like the production of a video, it just gives this other layer, and I love that. I really love the visual. So
if anyone from Simple Plan is actually listening to the podcast, hi, how are you? This is Crystal. God. She's going to direct your next music video. Do you know where to reach her? At 49ers Tennessee on Twitter. And it's funny you mentioned how you see the video, you sit there and go, you know, oh, I could do so much better. Even some bands go through that. I mean, I'm a metalhead. I'm a big metalhead, you know, and you know, one of my favorite bands of all time is this band Queensryche out of the Seattle area. And I remember getting their Building Empires home VHS, which was basically like a compilation of all their music videos, and I remember looking at the back going, why are there two versions of this one song? And
oh my God.
And it's the whole video was like, it was mainly the singer and the two guitarists, and they do these little interstitials talking about the video before they showed the video. So they were talking about the video for their song Another Rainy Night Without You, and they were talking about how I can't remember the director's name, but she was the one who did one of the Pet Sematary movies.
Okay. Oh my God.
Right? And they showed the video that she had directed, and it was like this very colorful, very abstract type video. And so they play the song, and then they come back to the band and go, so we tried to go a different direction. They showed the video that actually made it to Much Music. It was directed by Matt Maheron, and it's one of those things where it's always fascinated me when you think about how much a director listens to a song, and you have to wonder how much their vision matches the band's vision. And do you ever sit there and go, watch one of the videos and go, why would you do this? Why?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Honestly, like I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but again, like there's certain bands that I absolutely love, and like they do something so incredible, and then their next music video, you're like, I don't know what this is. Backstreet Boys, for example, like they've had some great music videos that told a story along with it, and then other times, because I'm thinking of larger than life, right? Like they're doing everything, whatever. But then other times you get music videos where they're just sitting in a cafe singing, and it's like, okay, no, I pictured so much more, Or like, I don't know, Michael Jackson's videos were always great. I'm just trying to think, like, there were some that just, the song was so amazing, and that video did not live up to it, And I feel like we're losing it a little bit now, because it's something that I don't really go and look up music videos nowadays, but when I do, when there's a song that I really love, I'll go and look at the music video, and I just feel like it didn't live up to what I want, because maybe they don't think it's as important now. I don't know, but because it doesn't go on MTV and Much Music anymore. I'm not sure, but like we live in a time right now where visuals are everything. You'd think that they put way more storytelling into it.
And you would think,
my personal opinion.
And you would think that with people watching things on YouTube, hi everyone watching on YouTube, you would think with people watching on YouTube, it's prime real estate for bands to do videos, but the problem is, it's not going to TV. Like, when Much Music would and MTV were actually showing music videos. Music videos were at their pinnacle. You'd hear about oh, this band spent millions of dollars making this video, and now it's like, yeah, we got a handy cam. I filmed this on my phone. We had some other.
Oh my God, I know. I think of, especially through quarantine and stuff, like Drake put out like his pop star video, and he got Justin Bieber to be in it and whatever. And I thought, like, how the heck did they do that during quarantine and whatever? And like, how do you even have a budget for that during this kind of time? How do you bring people over and whatever? But yeah, no, it's so different nowadays. Do you remember pop-up video? So you'd be watching a music video.
I loved pop-up video.
I know, you learned so much about it. And I'm like, they should bring that kind of stuff back, because I feel like people nowadays, like the younger generation, is crazy I'm saying this, but like the younger generations aren't appreciating videos and artists for what they used to be. Because TV's not as relevant anymore.
For anyone who never actually watched pop-up video, let me explain. So pop-up video was basically a show that was on Much Music at the time, and they would basically show the music video, but throughout the video, these little factoids would pop up on the screen, talking about things about the band, things about the production, interesting facts about whatever the visuals might relate to. And it was Much Music, but it was like educational Much Music. Like,
yeah. Like you felt like you learned something without wanting to learn it, if that makes sense. Where like you're just watching and enjoying your band that you love, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, I didn't realize that they really love Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell too. Like stupid little facts like that, but like, it was just so cool because it would just pop up. So you're still watching the video, you're enjoying it, but then poof, poof, and it would have these cute little noises, right? Like, I loved it. We need to do stuff like that nowadays.
Oh, if someone wants to bring back pop-up video, I am fully.
Let's do it.
Right?
Let's get it going.
First, we need the bands to make the good music videos. Then we need to make pop-up video and put it on a show. Okay, we're good. All right. So let's get back to the 49ers for a second here. One of the big things about the San Francisco area, of course, is, we're talking the home of Metallica, right? And when the Super Bowl was last in San Francisco, there was, there was a push for them to put Metallica as the halftime show act. Right? But of course that did not happen. Right. As the narrator voice would say, Metallica was not the halftime show act. They did get to play like a concert before the night before the Super Bowl. But do you think that halftime shows are lacking these days?
You know what? It's crazy because I actually just saw an article about this too, because just especially with how everything's going on in the world right now, is it something that people really care about, this, that, whatever. And like, I always used to look forward to the halftime shows. It was something that, it really, I thought in a big sporting event like the Super Bowl, it really adds to it if you have a great act, right? Like a Metallica would have been incredible. But I feel like it doesn't have the same emphasis on it that it used to. I feel like it's kind of fading away a little bit. And it's more just like, we do it. We have this halftime show of this performer, just because we have to. And it's like, let's just get the biggest name that you can just to throw them up there just to entertain the folks on, during the halftime. So then it brings in the people that aren't watching just for the Super Bowl and for football and the sports fans. It brings in, the other people that don't normally care about sports. They're like, oh, I love the weekend. I want to watch the Super Bowl. And you know what? That guy's been doing a lot of weird stuff. I know it's him that's doing the halftime show this year. He's been doing a lot of weird stuff off camera and whatever. So I'm actually really excited to see what this guy's going to do for the Super Bowl halftime show. Because I think he's going to be pretty, I don't know, like he's been enhancing his face and stuff, but apparently it's this whole thing. I don't know. But again, like, I feel like we've lost it. It's not what it used to be. I don't know what, that's just my own opinion, but like, I love sports more now than I used to. And so for me, it used to be, I was so excited to watch the halftime show. Like, I think of Janet Jackson that time, and everything happened with the nipple thing. But
right.
That was when I really was so into music, like more than I was into football. Like I still love sports, but it wasn't like I was like, ooh, football's everything. Whereas now I look at it from way more sporty lens. And like the halftime show, it matters if it's like, yeah, you have somebody great that's going in there. But if you're just finding a filler band, I feel like people can feel that now. And they know when that's happening, and like, it's just like, oh, great, you're just putting this here to make a quick buck. And it's like, capitalism at its finest. Like I'm thinking more cynically now that I'm getting older, maybe, I don't know, but I just feel like it's not what it used to be anymore. And it's kind of sad.
Okay. I have my picks, but I'm curious for you. What is hands down the greatest Super Bowl halftime act of all time, and which one needed to pack their bags and just go home?
Oh man. You know what, last year's, and this is probably me being super biased, but like, I remember reading a tweet after the last year's Super Bowl halftime show, which was like, obviously J-Lo and Shakira, and they were shaking their tushies and everything and just like doing their thing. And like somebody had tweeted out, like it's because of them that the world just like shifted and changed. Like they shut down everything. They broke the internet, whatever. I thought last year was really great. The Niners were in that Super Bowl. At that point, I thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. So I remember watching these women and I thought these two are such incredible women. They're badass. Like they have done so much for music and culture, and like especially Shakira, just where she came from and everything too, and just what she's done. So I really loved what last year's Super Bowl was. I don't know, like the Janet Jackson one is iconic to me just because I think of the face and like how she reacted to it, and it was like, whoa. Yeah, I gotta go with last year's. I think last year's was the one that I would take, and then there was Maroon 5 recently. I would turf that one. That one's gotta go. That was just kind of like they just got the biggest name that they could at the time, and like I think they were trying to get Rihanna for that, but she said no, and like it was this whole thing where they're like, this person's gonna be at this person, and so it just kind of didn't do it for me that year. I don't know, and I love Adam Levine; he's super hot, but
for me, obviously there was a lot of outside stuff going on around this one, but the U2 one for me. Shortly after 9/11, I think that was one of the most poignant, powerful Super Bowl halftime shows. I thought Prince, when he was doing Purple Rain.
Yeah, I have seen videos of it. I don't remember watching it physically on my own, but like, because what year was that he did it? I feel like it was a year I wasn't crazy into it.
Yeah, it's been a while. But that being said, I have two for the ones that needed to pack it up. And one, it's not their fault.
Okay. Oh my God.
The Black Eyed Peas.
Oh yeah.
It is not their fault.
Yeah, you know what? See, I don't even remember. I blocked it out of my head. Oh my God.
Yeah, you've blacked out the Black Eyed Peas. They put on what looked like, the greatest Tron remake ever, but
oh my God.
And I'm sure there's a lot of professional bands who would sit there and say, sometimes the sound just doesn't translate to the broadcast, and the sound mix that they were dealt with, meh. Right. Again, not their fault. Right. Just that's a production foul right there. Okay.
100%.
And then I'm going to go all the way back to when they thought putting the Blues Brothers, but the Blues Brothers 2000 version, Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman. Like,
oh my God.
That was their idea of like, oh yeah, this will work. This will work. Narrator voice. This did not work.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh no.
At that point, I sit there and go, we're going to need to do something really, really good. But do you think, at some cases that the hype of the halftime show overshadows the game at times?
I think of, what one I think of that kind of overshadowed it, and again, it's something one of the Super Bowls that had the 49ers involved, was against the Ravens and the 49ers. They had Beyonce that year. Mm-hmm. And I know way more people that, like, at the time, my girlfriends, none of them like sports. They all only watched the Super Bowl just to watch Beyonce. Mm-hmm. And so there were a lot of people at that time that were like, I'm just watching for Beyonce. I love Beyonce. So that one definitely, it overshadowed it a bit, because you have to think, like, it was the Harbaugh Bowl, like, it was the Niners versus the Ravens. I really was excited for it, but people that live in Vancouver didn't really care. Like, I remember thinking, like, I was working at a bar at the time, and I was like, oh, we need to go do a Super Bowl party. We need to watch this all together. And nobody wanted to watch it. Nobody really cared, other than the people that wanted to watch Beyonce. I'm not even joking you. So that definitely overshadowed the Super Bowl, because, like, the two contenders at where we were living, the proximity, nobody cared about them, right? The Ravens, nobody obviously cares about them in Vancouver. And, like, I don't know. I found that one was way more about Beyonce. Like, way more people just tuned in to watch her. And then she even shut down all the power there. Like, the lights went out because of her production system. Like, it was a crazy game. So I don't know. She took the cake there for sure.
I will say that I don't think the Niners make a comeback in the second half of that game if Beyonce doesn't blow a fuse. I
know. They sparked something for sure. I know something happened there with whatever happened. They were like, this is it. This is going to turn around. Beyonce shut down the Super Bowl for a second. Like, we're coming back with a vengeance. And then they did not come back.
Pretty much.
Almost. We were so close. And you made me watch that video. Oh my God.
Narrator voice. The Niners did not come back all the way.
No. Both years. We lost the league, and then the other time we just gave it up. So.
I have a feeling today. I have a feeling this episode of the podcast is now brought to you by the narrator voice.
Yeah, basically. I love it though. Like, the inner feelings of what we're thinking.
Exactly. I'll just start inserting, that big ominous announcer voice. At random parts, right? It'll be like the Mr. Black of the podcast voice.
Perfect.
I think the best Super Bowl broadcast was Mr. Black. Okay.
Oh God.
It's time to get super personal here. It is time to get super personal, because we've come to the end of the podcast. And at the end of each episode, we get into the heart of our guest. So, Crystal, here is the question, okay? Mm-hmm. If you were to introduce yourself to an absolute stranger, someone you've never met, okay? But the way you introduce yourself is you make a mixtape of songs. And the songs are basically the story of you. And you hand it to them, say, you want to, hi, this is me. Here's my tape. Okay. What songs are on that cassette, and why are they there?
Okay. So I don't know how many songs I'm allowed to say. So I was thinking, like, okay, 21 usually you can fit on a CD, right? Like, I don't know.
Let's go with a maximum of 10. It's one side of a cassette.
Okay, perfect. Okay, a cassette player. Okay, so if we go with that, so there are obviously, like, there's tiers to who I am in my mixtape, but I mentioned one of these songs to you already. So John Mayer's Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, that's like 100% going to be on there. Just because, again, it's one of those songs when I'm going through anything in my life, it's like everything could be burning around you. the walls are on fire, like you're either gonna go into that building and just like die with the building, or you're gonna watch it and learn from it, and you're gonna put that fire out, right? So it's just something that it's a sad song. There's some really big meaning in it. It's like, I think, a breakup song, but it's gotten me through a lot. So that's 100% going to be number one. That song there. The Beatles, and I know I was telling you a little bit about this before. I was saying that I have some tattoos that mean something to me. So I had gotten on this part of my arm. I don't know if you can see it. You see that there?
I feel like I should be doing a descriptive video for anyone listening on Spotify. Crystal is showing her arm. There is a tattoo with writing upon it.
So it's just a really random area of my arm, and I remember seeing somebody on like Instagram had a tattoo there. And so at this time, this was when me and my ex were going through some really crazy, weird stuff, and like I just kept listening to the Beatles, and the one song that really hit for me was "Let It Be." Just because it was like, you know, when you listen to Let It Be, there's so much meaning like behind that. And it's just this, they're trying to make it this peaceful time and whatever. And I think while I was going through all this heartache and whatever, I just was trying to remind myself at the end of the day, you can't control what other people do. You can only control how you feel and how you react to it. So I wanted to put something on my body, especially my writing arm, because I was always into writing. I wanted something to remind me that I could look down all the time when I'm going to write, when I'm going to do anything in life, to just remember, let it be. Don't let these things that are going on affect who you are as a person. And so that song 100% would be on there for me. Of course, I'd have Simple Times Perfect, just because I think of when I was in high school and blasting. I had my little boombox with my CD in there eventually, and I would blast that song whenever my parents were bothering me. I put a note on the door, not even joking you, that would say, "Do not disturb," right? So like, don't come in my room. And I had like pictures of the lead singer of Simple Plan, Pierre, all over my wall, and like just went through that. So that definitely would be there. Sum 41, I was huge into Sum 41 as well. I go with Fat Lip from them because it's just one of those songs that you hear and it like brings you back to just summertime, trying to learn how to skateboard, like, I don't know, drinking Slurpees from 7-Eleven. Like, I just think of such a better time. So that would be there. The Killers, obviously, they were my first concert ever. This shirt is actually the shirt that I bought when I went in grade 9 or grade 8, I think it was. First concert I ever went to, and I still kept the shirt, so I'm pretty pumped on that. But that would be Mr. Brightside. So reason I have Mr. Brightside is because I will never, and this is something I'm sure you can relate to. This is something you can relate to on 2 levels, and I kind of want to ask you something afterwards.
Okay.
This is it. When you're at a concert for the first time ever, and the band goes off the stage for the first time, and everybody's yelling for them to come back out, and it's the encore, right? And I had never at this point experienced what an encore meant. I didn't know what it felt like. I had no idea what to expect. And so everyone's like clapping and cheering for them to come back out. Brandon Flowers, like the best guy ever. He comes back out on the stage, and the stage is all dark, and you just see like this like shadow of him, and you know he's out there. And then all you hear is like, da-dun, 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 and they're playing Mr. Brightside, and I'm like, oh my God. And he starts singing Mr. Brightside, and they do another 3 songs in a set, and then they finally actually walk off, right? So like feeling an encore for the first time was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And especially Mr. Brightside, I guarantee every single person in that entire concert knew that song. That's what the Killers were known for. And people are jumping up and down, and I was in this crowd of people just jumping, and you feel something. You feel like you're a part of something, and it was just the most incredible feeling. And so as an artist, how do you feel when you get that encore, when people are cheering you on to come back out? Like, what is that like for you? Because it seems like it's the most incredible feeling.
Okay, so a little bit of a backstory for anyone who has who's listening to the podcast. I am in a couple of bands. In episode 2, we talked about the freaking Lolas. I'm also in another band, Ever the Bridesmaid. So, and it's funny. So for the most part, they're cover bands. The freaking Lolas does have some originals. Again, if you check the episode 2 on YouTube, you go to the description, you'll actually see our first fun music video with the freaking Lolas for one of our original songs. But the other one, it's a cover band. We're a cover band. We gig around when gigs were happening, and when we're making the set list, and this is as I like to call it, a little bit of insider baseball here. When you're making the set list, it's a process, because you try and sit there and you find a good flow of the songs, and then you sit there and go, well, what do we have as encores? Because you always have to have 1 or 2 encores set aside because you hope, right? I guess it depends on how long you play at night. Normally we close out the bar, but bands.
No big deal.
Right? No, it's no big. It's no big deal. It's 2:00 in the morning. We're fine. But you always have like one or two songs set aside just in case, right? Just in case you finish it. People are more. You take a look at the bartender. Bartender's like, yeah, we're good. Just play another song. You're fine, right? Yeah. Or otherwise, like shut it down. I want to go home. But you always have one or two songs. But then there's always the fun when someone recommends something or calls out for something. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you're in the crowd and you yell out "Freebird," you are putting your own life on the line. Do not ask for Freebird from any band whatsoever. You may get a guitar thrown at you. But
oh my God, my cousin would do that. That's his favorite song.
But oh God. I apologize to any Lynyrd Skynyrd fans, but as a cover band performer, we are not playing for you. Cannot pay us enough money to pay, to play Freebird. Also, I don't know how to play the song, so we'll just leave it at that. God. But it's all you have the songs that are set aside. But if someone calls out for something, I remember actually playing a gig, and we got a call up for an encore, and it's a Rolling Stone song that we do, and it's bad when I can't even remember what we actually have on our set list. It's been that long since we've actually done a gig, but I remember we played the song, right? And I will look it up again. But the woman that called for an encore, I guess her mother was going through some tough medical times, and like as just karmic luck would have it, this was her mother's favorite song. So here we have this girl doing like straight up happy tears. Beast of Burden, that's what it was. Beast of Burden.
Oh, and, nice! Right? Oh my gosh!
And we're sitting there playing Beast of Burden, and she's like literally like just in happy tears, and like I don't necessarily believe in like the whole little hand of fate kind of thing, but we killed the song that night. We absolutely killed it. And afterwards, and this was just someone who like walking home at 1:30 in the morning. We're still playing, so she decided to go into the bar and listen to us. and it was one of those situations, and she's hearing this band out of the blue play her mother's favorite song while her mother's going through a hard time. Like it's one of those things where if you get that moment, that's basically the encore is what the crowd wants to hear. Have something in the back pocket, but if they want to hear something, if you can play it. And I think that's why most bands save the single, right? The current radio single as
song,
or their big hit as the encore, because that you want that. The lights go down and you get the slow clap and everyone's more.
The lighters in the air, like
absolutely. And they're coming back.
Oh, for sure.
This isn't a spoiler here. They're coming back.
It's crazy when you experience it the first time and you don't really know what's going on and you're like, oh my God, and then you expect it for the rest of the time you ever go to a concert, right? That's all you want.
Yeah. No, it's the encore is it's formula, but it's a damn good formula.
Yeah. Oh, no, I always wanted to know how a musician felt about it because it's just like the coolest experience ever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's different for like, a major performing act because, they have their set list, because everything's timed out with the lights and the sound engineer and whatnot, or maybe the video screens in the background, depending on how big the band is. For a bar band, it's fun. It's just fun.
Oh, I know. I really loved, like, me and Tay came and watched their show. It's one of the best shows I've ever been to. Just with how interactive it was and intimate and, like, the whole crowd was so into it. It was just so great. Like, concerts are the best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, and trust me, when this is all done and we can get back out to concerts, it is going to be a rip-roaring time. All right. So we're getting back. We're getting back to your playlist here.
Okay. So let's try and shorten this up. I obviously have this album here for a reason. This album means so much to me. Just because, okay, just a little backstory. When I graduated from university, I graduated from Qualin. I got my journalism degree. I was the first one in my family to get their Bachelor of Arts in something, bachelor's degree in anything. Like just somebody, like my whole family had worked for TELUS, and you know, we all had gone to work for TELUS, and I also worked for TELUS when I was younger, and it didn't work out the way that I wanted, and I went traveling, whatever, and I found myself in a different way and started writing. And so when I finally graduated, I had put myself through school. My parents helped a little bit, but for the most part, I paid for school on my own. And it took me almost 6 years to complete my degree, because while I was doing my degree, I was also working full time in the job, and then working at a bar part time, and then also doing the classes on the side. So it was a lot. Like, it was just one of those things where if I could make it through that, I think I could make it through anything, if that makes sense. And I remember right before I was going to graduate, like right before we had our big ceremony of walking across the stage and everything, my dad and I were just out hanging out. And like I told you before, my dad was everything for me for music. And I had pointed at, we were at Urban Outfitters, and I was looking at some outfits that potentially I wanted to buy for walking across the stage, whatever. And we're at Urban Outfitters, and they sell record players and a bunch of really cool records, like whether it be, you know, new artists that have gone to albums form like vinyl, or older artists that they're, you know, putting out on display for whatever reason. Like they had Michael Jackson albums, they had everything. I remember looking over at this like beautiful, modern looking record player and thinking to my dad, like saying to my dad, I would love a record player. Like I've never had one. I love CDs, but like record players are so cool. They're way more vintage. Like there's just something about, like, I love typewriters. So I'm way more of like an old school kind of vibe of like listening to my music, writing, whatever.
You're an analog girl.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know. It just makes me feel something, you know? Digital stuff is great. The fact that we're doing this right now is really great. But I don't know. There's something about like that old school stuff. You can just feel it. You can feel the vinyl record, right? So that was something I just always wanted. And I mentioned it to my dad randomly. And he's like, I remember he said something like, don't buy it for yourself. Don't buy it for yourself, Chrissy. Save your money. You know, it's like, okay, I won't. Like, I wasn't really thinking of it. It's just something I've always wanted. And then when I graduated and we had like a little party for me and everything, my parents like threw a little party at the bar that I was working at, and it was really cute. And I opened up this gift that my dad had gotten me, and it was a record player. And it was literally this teal blue, beautiful record player. And he had given me 3 records with it, 2 of them being the Beatles' greatest hits, so like the red and the white, or the red and blue album he got me. And then he gave me this one from his greatest, like his own collection. So my dad has so many records, and like he's somebody that I think has like 100,000 songs in his database. Like, I don't know, he's just got so much music. Music is everything to him. So
for anyone listening on Spotify, it is the Red Hot Chili Peppers' greatest hits.
Yeah, it's like, this is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I want to just give you a like kind of backstory on why they mean so much to me, because I had taken him that same year before I graduated. I took him to the concert, and it was a Christmas present. So I had drawn his name. My family does it where we draw one name and buy like $100 gift for them. I spent a little bit more on him, and I bought him Chili Peppers concert ticket, because I thought it'd be really fun to take him to a concert. I'm more of, I'd rather do something with somebody than buy them something. That's just how I've always been. And my dad's kind of the same way. So I looked forward to going with him, and we went to the concert in March, and I graduated from my program in April. So just to give you a little bit of context. And we'd gone to this concert, and I was an idiot, and I bought the tickets off of Craigslist. And we go up to the door, we're all ready to go, and I go to give the tickets in, and they scan them, and they're like, oh, you're already inside. These are null and void. And so I guess what had happened was, on Craigslist, they can sell a bunch of the same ticket. Whoever goes in first and scans it, like, that's their ticket. So they did that. And what we ended up doing, like, it was a mess. We had gone for dinner, had drinks before and everything, and I was so looking forward to it, because, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers, I read the autobiography, like Scar Tissue, from Anthony Kiedis, and it's like one of my favorite books of all time. Like, and my dad had shown me Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, I just love them. They're one of my favorite bands. And so it would have been so great to see it with him. And I just thought this was something I bought him. This was supposed to be our thing. We can't even go in. And my dad is such a gem, and he ended up buying tickets off of a scalper. He spent $400 on tickets. So the Christmas present that I bought him, he ended up buying not only our tickets, but he spent money on our dinner and everything. And then, like, it's a joke now, but it was like our $700 night. You know what I mean? Where it ended up being where we went to dinner and then finally got seats to go and see this concert, but they were at his own expense and whatever. But at the end of the day, it was like the best concert ever. We got better seats than what I originally had had. We were right there. We were right in the crowd. we snuck booze in there and everything. Like, it was just so great. It was the best time. And like, I think of Under the Bridge because I remember swaying with him and just like having the best time ever. And so that's definitely on my playlist just because, I don't know, I think of Under the Bridge is so symbolic to me because it's just like anytime that you've gone through something in your life and you're kind of stuck in the spot and you're under that bridge, like there are always these people around you that can get you out of it if you're willing to look for it, right? And so, I don't know, I think of that moment, and my dad has always been that person, like, just to get me out of that rut. So that song is definitely going to be there because, like, that concert, again, one of the top 5 of the concerts. And I've been to so many concerts, but that one just it takes the cake for me. So that one's going to be there. And I was saying this to you before, I loved Aqua. So Dr. Jones was my favorite song. It wasn't Barbie Girl, but like Dr. Jones, I can just picture the music video of they're in the jungle and like, it was just such a like unique safari feel, and I loved it. It was great. And then another tattoo that I told you, sorry, my dog is getting to me. Another tattoo that I told you about was this one here. I don't know if I've ever explained this to you. I don't know if you've ever even seen this one. So this one here, it's in Italian, and it says "Vivere la vita più che puoi," which means, it translates, oh my God, I've never used these before. It translates to live life all you can. So basically live life to the fullest. And the band that I told you about that my dad really loved, Eros Ramazzotti, he's like this Italian singer, super huge in Europe and everything, in Italy. My parents had seen him so many times. They were meant to go see him this past year, but the concert got canceled because of COVID and all that. But this is a song that Eros did with Cher. You obviously know who Cher is.
Yeah.
So he sang this duet with him, and Eros did all the Italian lyrics, and then she would come in with the English lyrics. And it was this beautiful duet of them going back and forth in Italian and English. And it just meant so much to me. And like at my my grandpa's retirement, this was one of the songs that my mom used as like the slideshow with all the photos of my grandpa while he was going through work and everything. And like my grandpa passed away from Alzheimer's, and like he's one of my favorite humans ever. And so this song means a lot to me, and I got it tattooed on me for a reason. But that song, so it's called Più che puoi. That one's going to be on there 100% just because it means everything to me. Again, I was telling you, the Eagles, Hotel California, I can just picture my old street and us riding our bikes and our Razor scooters, and my dad washing his car and waxing his little Alfa Romeo. So Hotel California is going to be on there for sure. And then I love Supertramp, so Goodbye Stranger's got to be on there too. And then this one is just random, and I'm going to end on this one. Actually, 2. But again, like I told you, my dad's everything with music. So Eminem, when he first got the first album, the Slim Shady LP, that one was great. And it was like, it had My Name Is on it, whatever. But the second one, which was the Marshall Mathers LP, which I think came out 2 years later, that one had the song Stan. I don't know if you remember the song Stan.
Not quite, no.
So, well, it's got, what's her name? I can't remember her name, but she sings this beautiful lyric, and then Stan is the crazy fan in the background writing to Eminem.
Oh, no, it was, yeah, okay, no, I do know the song now, and it was Dido who was the singer.
Dido, and she did an original version without Eminem that was so beautiful and methodic, whatever, but like, then he did this version with her that she sang the tears don't go, I'm wondering why, you know that part? Yeah. And so then he would come in and rap the other part of the crazy fan, and like, there was something about just the contrast of the scariness and like the raw, like authentic feel of what that fan was saying, but through Eminem's verses with what Dido was saying. And I was like, whoa, this is like the most incredible song I've ever heard. So that's definitely going to be on there. And then the last one I think would be, and this one's super random, but again, my dad, he was like, this is the thing with my dad now that, you know, he's retired. He sits and watches Jimmy Fallon all the time. And Jimmy Fallon always has these great musical guests on. So for example, like my dad showed me, you know, the Black Keys when they were on there. He's like, you have to listen to the Black Keys. They're really cool. He shows me all the bands that like come up and end up being something. What was the one? Tidal Wave, Rebel Just for Chips. You know that song? Foster the People. He showed me them. Portugal the Man, like all these very unique bands. But he showed me Post Malone because he heard Post Malone on Jimmy Fallon. And he's like, this guy Post Malone's really unique. Like, listen to him. And it wasn't normally my dad's style of music. And so while I was in Toronto, actually, while I was going to College of Sports Media and like living this whole different life that feels so, you know, far from what I am right now, he had sent me the song because he heard it on Jimmy Fallon, Circles by Post Malone. And it's just this beautiful I don't know, like it's so lyrical. And it was one of those songs that whenever I was missing my dad when I was in Toronto, whenever I was missing family in general, because my family's everything to me, I would put on Post Malone Circles. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just my vibe. It's it's kind of like this little silver lining at the end of the scary tunnel vibe, if that makes any sense. So that's the one that I would probably cap it at, is Circles, because it comes back to like everything you've done in your life. And, you know, you always know that the people that are surrounding you and in your circle are going to be there for you. So yeah, that'd be my mixtape.
Crystal, thank you. Thank you so much for this. Where can our listeners and our viewers find you on social media so they can tell Simple Plan who their next music video director is going to be?
So basically, I use Twitter more than anything. So just hit me up on Twitter. I'm at 49ers Chrissy, and it's CRYSSY. A little different than normal because I'm just like that. My name's Crystal, so I put the Y in there. I'm unique. But yeah, find me on Twitter. All of my stuff is on Twitter, so look me up there. And I have my pinned tweet, which is my black hat, and that's the story that I wrote for FI that I think is one of the most that's like touched people in the past and like just been kind of inspiring for other people, and like something that I put out there that was really the most, that kind of made a tidal wave of its own of when I put it out there. So that one's pinned at the top, and you guys can read all my stuff on FI just by clicking that.
Crystal, thank you so much. This is the Made You a Mixtape podcast. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. And you can find us on all audio streaming services. If you're listening to us on an audio streaming service, guess what? You can actually watch this interview on YouTube. It's funny how it works that way. Until next time, I am Jason. This is the Made You a Mixtape podcast, and we will see you in 1 week's time. Take care.